All right, so welcome to the introduction to creating Canvas content pages for this semester. The goal of this workshop is really to get us up and running with the process of creating accessible Canvas pages using the new rich content editor and just kind of all content editors inside of Canvas. So if you're used to working with Canvas and you want to get a little bit more of behind the scenes, this is the right place. If you've never used Canvas before and you're new to creating content pages in Canvas, this is absolutely the right place for you to begin. So I'm going to be working almost entirely today inside of Canvas, where we'll explore some of the functions of the rich content editor that will allow us to meet our accessibility guidelines that we're always striving to create and to work towards in our classes. So let me just get a little organized here and bring open my Canvas and begin the share screen process. Okay, let me start sharing my screen with you guys. Okay, so here we go. So hopefully everyone sees my Canvas page in the workshop. And what we're going to do is start by looking at pages. Thank you, great, you got a thumbs up, I like it. So we're gonna be looking at pages today. And before we get started, I think it's really important to point out the purpose and kind of the best practice of using pages inside of our course navbar, because as instructors, we get access to a lot of stuff way over here. And we want to ensure that we're directing an experience for our students that's consistent. Well, of course, as instructors, we get access to this Pages tool, which is pretty great. If you look at this row, there's a visibility icon that tells me that this is not visible to our students, and this is intentional. We don't want to give them access to the global kind of library of all the pages that we've created inside of this Canvas course, because it can be very overwhelming. Well, shoot, let me show you a really great example of that. Let me show you. This is a Canvas course that I'm currently producing for my 3D modeling class down at Sac City. And let's see, here we go. If I just go into all pages here, this is why we don't want to give access to pages, to the Pages tool inside of Canvas, because there's a lot of them. Where do we go? Where are the students going to get all their learning resources? How are we going to direct their experience in a way that really kind of marches them towards some sort of assessment point of the student learning outcomes inside of our class? So this global pages area in Canvas is really meant and designed for us as instructors and not for students. The next natural question is, well, if we're not taking them into the pages area, where are we supposed to direct them? Where's a good place for them to go? And that all has everything to do with our modules way up here at the top. The modules area in Canvas is really kind of like the table of contents of a book. It's think of each module like a folder, and then inside of that folder is all the learning resources and assessments and discussion boards for that area of the book itself. It kind of follows the classic hub and spoke design, right? Where this is the hub, the modules tool is the hub of our entire class, and then we branch off and can linearly or non-linearly start to explore the content in our course. Now, the modules area by default is going to be a very linear experience. It's just going to be a list, which is pretty cool, but it gives us these wonderful containers. If you've never created a module in Canvas before, it's just real easy. You click on this big blue button, and of course, you can create a name. I've already created a module. You can see it behind me called Week 1, and I've already inserted a page into our module. I'll come back to that here in a minute. I want you to look real carefully at the icons that show up inside the module itself, because one is a page and one is a document. The little paperclip icon is going to be a document, and I've placed this object here to represent and to illustrate a bad practice, something that we're striving to ignore as much as we can, right? Placing documents inside of a module like this is discouraged. Does anyone want to take a guess why? And you're more than welcome and encouraged to do so in chat if you'd like. Let's see. Oops. I gotta apologize. I'm managing a couple different windows here. One of the reasons we want to avoid just posting, yes, there it is, accessibility, absolutely. And there's no instructions, right? One of the reasons we want to try to avoid just kind of placing a document inside of the modules is that it doesn't give the student any context. It doesn't provide them with any sort of instructions or prompt as to what to do with this document. And this is the curriculum handbook, and are we supposed to read it? Are we supposed to download it, print it out? Do you want me to scan through and find certain areas within inside this humongous book that I'm supposed to kind of draw focus to? What are we supposed to do with this document? I don't know. There's no sort of instructions. Posting just flat links to documents doesn't provide the student an understanding of what we're striving to accomplish with this document. So the way that we kind of combat this issue and the resolution to the problem is a page. And this one up here is a Canvas page. And Canvas pages are wonderful in every sense. They're kind of like little mini web pages, and you'll see that in action here in a second. Again, if you look at the icon for the page, it's a little page icon, a little document icon. And this is a great way to very quickly understand what we're looking at inside the module view itself. Now, I already have a page, but if you're working with a brand new Canvas course that doesn't include a page, the first thing that I would encourage you to do is to create a module. That way, we can create a page that will automatically go into that module. Let me show you how we do that. It's real simple. I got my week 1 module all set up here. And if you follow this row, way over here to the right, the little plus sign, we now can add any number of tools and items inside of this module. Now, I don't want to add an assignment. That's something different. That's another workshop. We want to create and add a page to this module. Let's just give it a good name here. I've clicked the new page option at the top of this list, and we'll just call this test page. Here we go. In the indentation, this is just a visual hierarchy thing. You can change this after the fact. You can indent it across a number of different levels. So with the name of the page created, I can add it to my module, and it automatically pops in, which is pretty cool. FYI, if you are in the page creation stage, you can reorganize any of the contents of your module simply by left-clicking and dragging on these dots here on the left. There we go, just dragging it up and reorganizing the list to serve whatever purpose that I want. Okay, I would encourage you to check out the contents in this plus sign. There's a lot of really great things that we can add inside of our modules in addition to creating pages. So now that we have a page, let's jump in and start looking at how we're going to be making our content. I've pre-created a page here that has some text. So there it is. This is just some text, and welcome to viewing a page. This is what your students are going to see. A page inside of Canvas is really no different than a web page. It can contain text and links and pictures and videos. Anything that you would normally interface on a web page, you can see inside of a Canvas page. When it comes to our learning resources, how we construct these pages is a little bit different than how we would normally construct a web page. And the one thing that's really stands out in that is our accessibility guidelines. When it comes to instructional resources, we need to be very, very mindful that it is both our contractual obligation and our responsibilities as citizens in this country to ensure that all of our learning resources are accessible to all of our students from day one. We want to give everyone in our class an equal opportunity to take advantage of the things that we've created for them. So the Canvas pages have an additional layer of accessibility expectations kind of placed on top of them when we're creating it. Let's start to edit this page and take a look-see. Okay, so this is just straight up text. FYI, we're looking at the old rich content editor. That's what this thing looks like. If you've been working here in Los Rios, this content editor is our friend. It's been around for a long, long time. This is the final semester you're going to see this content editor. It's been end-of-lifed by the developer of Canvas. So starting in the spring semester, you will not be able to see and use this content editor. If you've imported your course from last semester, from the summer or from the fall, you may be seeing this content editor inside of your Canvas course. If you're starting with a brand new, fresh Canvas course that doesn't include any content that you've imported from previous semesters, your content editor looks a little bit different. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. But since I have the old rich content editor up and running here, we'll use it and then we'll switch it over here in a minute. So I've gone ahead and just added some simple text into our page here. but we now need to go in and make this text accessible. And the first thing that I want to talk about are headings. Headings inside of our Canvas pages allow us to create a direct visual hierarchy of information within inside the page itself. I come from the media arts world. I teach animation and 3D modeling at Sacramento City College, and I love spending time with all of my colleagues in the graphic design program at that school because they teach me all these wonderful things, including old school newspaper design, because I have some friends at City College that are newspaper editors and what have you. And they have given me a master class on the importance of these visual hierarchies within the page, because they create this wonderful, and I mean absolutely wonderful, quick reference for our students to very specific chunks of information within the page itself. Our subconscious is always working. It's always consuming the visual stimuli that's in front of us. And these headings and the difference between the headings will help our subconscious parse and direct our conscious thought very quickly to specific areas inside the page itself. It also is something that we need to do for our accessibility guidelines. More on that here in a minute. Let me show you how to change the headings and their function inside the page itself. Right now, all of the characters in the page are identical. They look the same. Well, this is the page title, and admittedly, it's not a very great or creative page title at the moment. It's just called page title. So maybe I want to give this a little bit more of a visual importance in the page itself. In the past, we would just go up and, we'll make it bold. Shoot, I can even go in here and maybe make it like orange, and I can even increase and decrease the size of the font if I wanted to. Here it is over here. Boom, there it is, and now it stands out visually from the rest of the page. And that would be okay if you were a newspaper designer. But when it comes to learning resources, we need to use a system that will allow this information to be accessible to all of our students. If this is orange, and if the orange text is drawing some sort of visual importance and weight, if you will, to this area of the screen, how is a student who is non-sighted going to understand and have the exact same opportunity to appreciate that visual weight of this text in here, right? We should be creating or we should be leveraging a system that allows all of our students, regardless of where they're coming from, the same opportunity to understand and comprehend the structure of our content. So instead of using this crazy color, let's put this back to black. And I'm certainly not going to make it bold. And let's put the size back to 12, so kind of like defaults text size here. As an alternative, we're going to use what are called headings. And headings are pre-built little chunks of computer code that determine the styling of this area. And you can find your headings inside the old content editor under this drop-down menu right here where it says paragraph. Paragraph's the default, but if we open it up, we have header 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you look at the way that these are styled, it already creates a hierarchy inside this list. Heading 2, because it's big and because it's bold, creates a much more importance in comparison to heading 3 and 4. So I'm going to select heading 2, and for some reason, it's because I did all that crazy styling before. Let's put it back to paragraph. Heading 2. Excuse me for a second while I go into the HTML editor. This is what happens when you go off script and you start changing things. Even though I added all those crazy colors, it still thinks that it's there. There we go. There it is. Now it's working. Now my headings are changing when I select them from the list. So now page title has a much more important role inside the visual hierarchy of the page itself. And we want to use these headings to create a natural flow of information. The second paragraph here is supposed to be a secondary paragraph to the main content of the page. So instead of using heading 2, perhaps I use heading 3. It's a little bit smaller. The weight of the characters is not as big. Same thing down in here. I'll change this one to heading 4. And we can start to see how all these headings are creating a nice little hierarchy of info inside the page itself, which is pretty cool. Now, in addition to making it visually more important, right, and starting to create a direct relationship between the content of each one of these paragraphs, it also plays and serves our accessibility guidelines. when a student who is looking at our Canvas pages or who is listening to our Canvas pages using a screen reader, the screen reader software is looking and listening for these headers, and they will communicate the importance and the weight of those headers to the student who is listening to this page through a screen reader. So a screen reader will get to this section of the page and it will say heading, heading 2, and then say page title. Down here it'll say heading 3, using headings, and so it will start to separate all of these areas away from each other to allow the student who is listening to understand the relationship between all of these elements. In addition, and this is really cool, these headings allow students that are using assistive devices to tab through all the content very quickly inside the page itself. So it makes it's not only a visual tool, but it also allows us to navigate through the content quickly. Because sometimes screen readers, they break a page into a whole series of little kind of micro pages because the screen reader text gets really big. So what a sighted student will see is the entire page at one time, but a non-sighted student using a screen reader might only see a couple lines of text at a time. So these headings allow those students that are using assistive devices to tab through and to very quickly navigate the content within inside of a Canvas page. So they're incredibly important. In addition, they're also universal, which I really like. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter which Word document, program, or website you're taking these things to. Headings are probably one of the most universal accessibility guidelines on the planet, which is pretty neat. If you ever read an ebook, for example, you can see the role of headings inside of an ebook very quickly because they've done the exact same thing. They've tagged each one of the chapters and the titles using headings to visually separate that content in this gigantic block of text in the ebook. So headings are a critical part of the construction of our page and something that we should include in everything that we create. Any questions on working with headings? Let's see if I can get my chat window back. Catch up with chat, make sure there's no questions. Okay, all right, looking pretty good. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is not exactly, should we do this when making a Word doc? Yes, absolutely, and you can easily change the headings inside of your Word document as well. Because when you publish a Word document and a student who is reading or listening to that Word document in a screen reader is going to have the exact same functionality as I've described in a Canvas page. So we should be putting headings in Word documents, PowerPoint documents, PDFs, everything that has a title and subtitles and chapter names should be using headings instead of manually going in and changing the font size. That way it's being marked and tagged individually, and our screen readers will be able to consume this information very directly. On that point, just so you have a frame of reference as to some of the technology that's being leveraged in the background, I'm going to go into my HTML editor. And I'm not going to ask you guys to be web coders at the moment, but if you look at the contents of the HTML editor, these things in here, see where it says H2, those are the heading tags. And those tags are what the screen reader is going to register, and it's going to read heading, page title for us, right? So those are the critical bits of computer code that will allow this layer of functionality to be accessible for our students who are non-sighted. Okay, let's go back into the rich content editor. And it drives me crazy that we can't use headings in email, right? It drives me crazy. I wish we could have headings everywhere because it really is. It's one of the tools that makes our documents and our learning resources accessible. Okay, so now what I want to talk about are links, because a lot of us are going to be including links to resources, Word documents, PDFs, external links within inside of our system. And it's really important that we're formatting our links in a way that makes them accessible. Before we start, let's look at what an inaccessible link looks like. And I've placed one in here. This is a link to a YouTube video. And if you look at the link here at the bottom of the page, I wish I could zoom in and show you guys. There's a couple things that make this inaccessible. A, it doesn't tell us what this link is. It doesn't give us any sort of context as to where we're going. In addition, it's just a whole bunch of gobbledygook. Without it being included and phrased in a sentence, the student just looking at this link could think this is a link going to anywhere on the web. And we definitely don't want, we want to have a system that encourages our students to click on the learning resources that we choose are important for our classes. Without any sort of information or context, this could be, you know, a malware site or a scammer or something. Who knows? So this is what we don't want to do. It doesn't give us context. In addition, our screen readers are going to have a lot of trouble with this, right? Because what a screen reader is going to read is both the characters on the line and the link itself, right? So what a screen reader will end up reading back to a student is https://u or you2tu.b. It's just going to read the link, and then it's going to say link to https. It's going to like read it twice, okay? And without any context and purpose for this link inside the paragraph, the students that are listening to these links are going to get very frustrated and confused as to what they're supposed to do. So the best practice when formatting a link inside of our Canvas pages is twofold. First and foremost, here's a good link. We want to include the link in a sentence, right? By placing it in a sentence, we now have some context as to what this link is really trying to get our students to do. If you look carefully, I've phrased it, I've placed it inside of a sentence. Says, please watch this video on how to adjust grade visibility status in Canvas. Just by reading the sentence, we understand what it is that we're going to be experiencing, what type of link this is. It's a video, and we've also given it the content, what the content of the video is. So we want to build our links into sentences, okay, that provide some context as to what this link is. In addition, I've also changed the character of the link, okay? I haven't just posted the raw computer code way down there at the bottom.
Hey, Dad.
Okay, sorry. I just had my kindergarten needed some help with some Legos, so I apologize for the pause. But the thing that's not included in this link is the raw HTML, the computer code, the web code down here at the bottom. We've completely stripped that out because really, for both sighted and non-sighted students, this down here is not really important, right? What's most important is the content of the link itself. Now, to add a link inside of Canvas, once you've written your sentence, adding a link to Canvas is really easy. Let me just show you how to do that. The first thing that we do is that we want to select the characters, and I'm left-clicking and dragging out a selection box around the characters that I want to transform into a link. Now, it'd be helpful if I had the URL selected. I'm going to copy that web address down there, just using Control-C or Command-C here on the Mac. And then I can grab all the characters that I want to transform into a link, and I'm going to go into my rich content editor, which is, and up here, this button is the link to URL. And you get this little pop over. I want to paste in the URL that I want my students to be linking towards. If it's a video, in the old content editor, you can enable the inline preview, which is going to be a small like video thumbnail. I find that really annoying. If I was to save it, yeah, see how I get the little video thumbnail? That's for YouTube links only. For traditional web links, you're not going to see that. If you don't want that in, you have to disable the inline preview for the link itself. And let's see, I'm just going to grab the link again. And you can remove the link and it goes back to regular text. You can also edit the link too, but sometimes I find it just easier to repaste the link. And then down here at the bottom, it says disable inline previews for this link. There we go. And now that little preview window is not going to show up on your Canvas page itself. So two really important ideas when it comes to working with link. We want to include the link in a sentence to give our students some context as to what they're seeing and where they're going to be going when they click on the link. And I've used the characters of the sentence as the link itself. I'm not just posting the web code, the web link down here, and asking my students to click on it. Does that make sense? Make sense? Any questions on how we can use links to raise our content to meet our accessibility guidelines? You're going to find that everything that I do when it comes to working with links is going to follow this format in here. If you've been reading the emails that I've been sending out to the entire college, every time that I include a link, I always try to include it in a sentence, and I'm not posting the raw web code in the body of the email or the website or my Canvas pages, because it really does make it the most accessible. Okay. Other questions about working with links?
Hello, Patrick. Would you say that that's the best practice if you're putting a YouTube video to put it as a link rather than, like, let's say, embedding the video in the page?
You can do either. You can do either. It depends on the experience that you're trying to craft. If it is just going to be a link, this is definitely the best process or the best practice. If you're choosing to embed the video in a page, that's good too. I like to embed videos on the page itself. I try to keep the experience inside of Canvas as much as I can. I want my students to be here. I don't want them necessarily having to go externally from this wonderful experience to get their learning resources.
Yeah, I also like how it gets rid of the ads when it's inside Canvas.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love YouTube. I'm on YouTube a lot. I do a lot of personal things on YouTube, and it is sensory overload at times, right? With all the ads and the recommended videos on the sides. So, yeah, I get it. I get it. That's not those recommended videos on the sides and the discussion chats down below. Those aren't necessarily what I want my students to be looking at. I want them to be focusing on the content that I've created. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, other questions about?
Yeah, Patrick, on that, okay, if you didn't have that link you have below, but you had your sentence, and then you said you changed it to, please watch this, then you put a semicolon, and you put the link down below just as you wrote it.
Yes,
that would help me sort out the link for my own work, and it might help the student realize that that is a link instead of just a bunch of text.
Yeah, and I think,
would that be not a good practice?
Yeah, I would probably remove it and have it be just like this. Okay, there's a common convention when you have blue text with an underline that this is in fact a link. We always get access on the instructor side to the link information just by going into that link button. And I apologize, I did that real fast. If you go back to the link URL button in the content editor, you can always get the raw HTML right here inside of Canvas. So that it's always available to us. It speaks to our accessibility guidelines as well. When a screen reader is coming here, we want to make sure that they're getting this sentence and an understanding that this sentence is leading to a hyperlink. And the screen reader.
Say after this, in that sentence, I put a semicolon, and then put that whole word set as
like this
below it. Okay, would that be not good to do?
Yeah, because now we're having two things that are sending into the exact same spot. Yeah, I still wouldn't do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Other questions? All right.
Yes.
Let's. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. When we're embedding videos, the size. How can we make the appearance smaller than instead of taking
bigger. Yeah.
Instead of taking into the entire screen? Like, I just want to make it smaller and then do my text. Yeah.
Down below.
Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, you can absolutely customize all of your embedded videos. Let's do this here real fast. Let's just run over. Oops. Let's just run over into YouTube. Go. This week in Canvas.
It's time to start looking ahead and preparing our Canvas courses for the next semester.
Sorry. My Zoom interface was in the way. I'm just going to grab the embed code for our YouTube videos. Because this is usually and you can do this by right-clicking on any video. I'm using Chrome, by the way. If you right-click on the YouTube video, this little menu will pop up. And this is the easy, fast way of getting the embed code, right? You can also get a video URL. We're going to come back and look at that here in a second. If I was to go back into my Canvas page, I can paste that embed code using this HTML editor. I'm just going to do paste, and then here it is. The width and the height values are sitting in the raw computer code. The rest of this is gobbledygook. I don't even know what it means. It's web code that makes the video show up, but the height and width are right there. Most videos that you see coming from YouTube are going to have an aspect ratio of 16:9. So you'll have to do some simple math to figure out what your new proportions are going to be inside the player or inside the Canvas page to make it all work. If I return back to my rich content editor, there I am, smiling away. Let's see, I don't think we get, oops, I clicked on the play button. Sorry.
It's time to start looking at.
Okay, thank you, me. Yeah, it's the HTML editor is the fastest way to change the width and the height. Okay, good question. Any other questions? Link questions. All right, I'm going to delete me. Oh, I wish I could do that. Just delete me. There we go. And we're going to start talking about pictures real fast because pictures have a couple other accessibility frameworks that we need to be very mindful of when inserting them into a Canvas page and all pages for that matter. Let's just go ahead and do it real fast. I want you to be, when you're putting pictures into a Canvas page, I want you to be very mindful as to where your cursor is. And I know it's really hard to see on the share screen right now, and I apologize, but my cursor is down here at the bottom in the last line. I want my picture to be maybe over here, okay? So I'm gonna hit the return key, put my cursor on a new line, and then adding a picture is this option up here, the embed image. The embed image. Okay, and this is going to take you to this little popover. This is a Canvas. I wish the developers of Canvas would sit next to me because I find this really frustrating. The first thing that we see is the option to paste a URL, a web link to a picture. And I don't really use pictures that are associated to a web URL. Oftentimes I have pictures that I have uploaded into my Canvas shell. So if you go into this Canvas area, now it's going to take you into your files, your course files, the file tool that you see inside of Canvas. And in here, I know I have some pictures, or I thought I had some pictures. Here we go. I was in the wrong folder, excuse me. And I'm just going to put our CRC image in there. Now, before we go any further, and before we just hit update and insert the file, we need to look at the alt text. Because this alt text is what makes this picture accessible. Keep in mind that you're going to have students that are non-sighted inside of your Canvas classes. So we need to ensure that those students and all students have the exact same opportunity to consume the importance of this picture, right? If this picture contains instructional information, if there is a purpose behind this picture that enhances the outcomes or the lesson or the topic that this page is addressing, we need to provide a written description of that picture. That written description is called an alt text or an alt tag on a picture. And we get access to it in a couple different places. It's most easily done when we're inserting the picture into the system itself. So I'm just going to add, let's see, I'm going to do hawk. There we go. That's my alt text. Now, be mindful of how I phrase that. If you look very carefully, there's a couple omissions from that alt text. I didn't add picture or image of hawk, picture of hawk. We don't need to do that. The screen readers are going to say picture or image for us. So we don't need to include that in the alt text. If I simply wrote picture of Hawk, a screen reader would say, picture of Hawk, okay? So knowing that the screen reader is going to do some of the work for us, I'm just going to put in my alt text of Hawk, and then the screen reader will read back to us, picture of Hawk. Cool, right? All right. Now, if your picture includes text, okay? I know I had a conversation about this with a math professor, and this professor was uploading pictures of equations and diagrams. If there is on-screen text included in the picture, that on-screen text needs to be included in the alt text, right? Because that non-sighted student is going to need to understand that there are text characters in a picture that the screen reader is not going to pick up. So we need to include that in the alt text, okay? The screen readers are always going to read the alt text. However, if this picture is just something fun, right? Maybe it is an icon. Earlier it was asked, I think by Blanca, if can we put icons from a website into our Canvas pages? Oftentimes those icons don't have any sort of instructional weight. There's no purpose behind them. They don't add to the instructional experience. So if that's the case, we can just choose decorative image. And then the screen reader will say, we'll get to that point and we'll just say decorative image. Alt text and alt tags are another universal accessibility guideline that goes into every single one of our electronic learning resources. So if you're working with a Microsoft Word document or PowerPoint, we're going to need to look to include alt text or alt tags in each one of those photographs, everywhere it goes. Okay. Here in Canvas, this is an easy way of getting there. I'll show you another way to go back in and remediate your alt tags pretty quickly. In addition, we also have an opportunity down here at the bottom to include the dimensions. Let's update it real fast. And there it is. There's my cool little picture. A lot of folks, unlike videos, we can move these pictures around very easily. If you click on the center here, you can see we get a cool little bounding box around the photograph. And now I can left click and I can move it where I want it to go. It's my cursor is it's hard to see because my cursor is not playing along at the moment, but you can move these around. Why is it not doing it? Of course, in the middle of a workshop, it's choosing not to work. One of the other things that you can do here, let's do this. I'm going to win. I want to put my cursor up here on this front line. Did the exact same thing. Go into Canvas, course files. There we go. Put my alt tag in, update it. Okay. All right, so this image here can also be justified left, middle, and right. We don't always have to have our pictures on the left side of the page. Perhaps I want this lovely photograph of our CRC Hawk over here. If we go into our rich content editor, these align buttons in the center will do the job for us. So in addition to aligning text, we can also use them to align the media inside of our page itself, which is pretty cool. I find that pretty helpful. And our text is now going to wrap around this picture as it continues to flow down the page itself, which is pretty neat. Okay, pictures. I mentioned earlier that I was going to show you where you can also change the alt text of pictures, and it's really easy, although it may be a little overwhelming at first. I'm going to take you into my file locker down over here in my course nav bar. Oops, I forgot to save the page. Let's save the page. There we go, looking pretty fantastic if I don't say so myself. If we go into our file locker, this is going to show us kind of like a Windows Explorer look of all of the different files that are currently inside of this Canvas course shell. And we've added a new tool into all of our Canvas courses called Ally. And Ally is an accessibility kind of alert and remediation tool. It gives us these cool little gauges that tells us, that alerts you as the faculty member if this particular resource meets our accessibility guidelines. And I have a couple here. Look, I have a PDF where I did not remediate this PDF. It's missing alt tags. It doesn't have headers, I think, in it. With PDFs, there's a lot that you have to do to make a PDF accessible. So I'm getting a red meter gauge. My curriculum handbook has a middle meter gauge. Let's go find that image real fast of the hawk. Yeah, look at this. Here's the image. It's got a green accessibility score. Perfect. Yay for me. I'm happy with that. But if you click on it, you'll be able to see the image. In addition, you can see there's the alt text right there. The image description, that's the alt text. It preserved the alt text from when I inserted it in before. If you want to make a new alt text, this is an easy way of going in and updating the alt text or creating an alt text for images inside of your course. We're going to have another workshop. We had a workshop, I think, last week, or perhaps it was the week before, all about Ally. We're looking to rerun that workshop in the not too distant future. So look for additional information on Ally, as it's not a new tool. It's been around for a couple years, but we turned it on for every Canvas course going forward. It used to be an opt-in. You had to fill out a form and ask district office to insert the tool inside of your Canvas course. Now that tool is on for everybody. Okay. I mentioned that I was going to turn on the new rich content editor so we can see how they're different and how these same accessibility tools can be applied to the new content editor. If this is a new technology for you, if you're used to working in the old content editor, keep doing so for the next couple of weeks. The first 2 or 3 weeks of the semester is bonkers. It's really busy and it's really crazy. Do yourself a favor, do yourself a solid, and don't add this new layer of technology until things have kind of normalized a little bit. But at some point in the not too distant future, I would encourage you to turn it on and get real comfortable using the new rich content editor, because it is different. It's a little quirky. The layout is very different than what we've had in the past. So there's a little bit of a learning curve, and experience is going to be your best master. Under the feature options section inside of our course settings, RCE enhancements. This is the new rich content editor. It's going to be turned on by default in the spring semester. I've just activated mine. And now if I return to my modules and edit that page we were currently exploring, look at this. Our new content editor is alive and kicking inside of Canvas. And this is a content editor that you're going to find everywhere. You're going to see this when you're making assignments, discussion boards, pages. It's a global architecture that you're going to see everywhere inside of your content, everywhere inside your Canvas course. So the layout's a little bit different. The headings are now over here. Okay, they're not way on the right side. Well, first and foremost, you probably have already noticed that we're hitting the full width preview of our Canvas pages, which is, yeah, I like that. That's one of my favorite parts. You can also grab these dots down here at the bottom and make the frame of the content editor bigger and smaller. We have a lot of the same formatting options that we did before, but the layout is just a little bit different. If you notice, these are all of our alignment tools. Instead of having a button for each alignment tool, they've been nested in this pull-down menu. Same with all of our lists. Here's all of our lists. So we see our unordered lists and our ordered lists. This is our, this one in here is the justification, I'm sorry, not justification, indentation, I apologize. And this took me a couple minutes because I remember indenting this and I went, oh, well, how do I bump it back, right? Well, if you got to go down into the pull down menu, and then there's the bump it back button. So it's quirky. It's a little different. The part that I have kind of the biggest, the part for me that's the biggest hurdle is the links. Believe it or not, because I thought the old link system worked really well. Now, for example, if I wanted to make this in here a link, you'd still select it like we always do. And here's the link button. And in here we have two options. External links, these are just straight up, HTML. This would be google.com, right? External links, that's going to take us outside of Canvas. However, in addition, we also have course links. Now these are going to be links to internal Canvas items itself. So perhaps we want to link to a specific module, a specific page, a specific quiz. We can do that, and it's great. a lot of folks don't think it's there because we don't have the course links area on the right anymore. But once you choose course links, we'll get a new area, a new shelf that will slide out. And now I can link this to, this is my dev shell. Here we go. This is just a test discussion board. And now that link is active. It's going to go to an internal item inside of Canvas, which is pretty cool. Editing these links is kind of one of the things that I don't like, right? If you go into link options, you can edit the link here, but if it's a course link, I can't easily edit that course link. So what I have learned to do is that it's actually faster for me to remove the link. Oops, and I didn't grab all of it. I will remove the link, or I gotta click on it, sorry. Link options, get rid of the link itself, and then go back in and relink it. There we go, remove link, I'm sorry. And then relink it to a different page, for example, okay? So this takes a little bit of getting used to. It's a little clunky. I like the course links area that we had with the old content editor, but I don't have a choice in that. Of course, we can still put images in, which is pretty neat. We can also do media. We've always been able to do media. These are course documents. And the one that really stumped me are all of our external tools. And it's this little plug icon. That's where we're going to go if we wanted to add in a video from Canvas Studio, or if you have a video that's been captioned by 3C Media, that's in here as well. This is where, excuse me, you're going to get access to all of your Google Drive, your Los Rios Google Drive information is through in here. So all of the LTIs that we were used to seeing in our old content editor have been condensed into this little plug. In addition, we also have our accessibility checker down here at the bottom. And yes, Cecilia and I are thinking the exact same thing at the exact same time. This is our accessibility checker, the little man, okay? It used to be at the top of our content editor. Now it's down here at our bottom. If we click on it, it's going to go through the internal Canvas accessibility checker. It's going to scan all the items that are in this page. And it looks like I give myself a high five. I didn't have any accessibility problems with inside this page. This is really the last step when it comes to creating accessible content pages. Click on the little accessibility icon, check it out, make sure at the very least it's passing the accessibility check. Now it's only going to create, and excuse me, it's only going to scan the Canvas page created stuff. So if you've linked a PDF, it's not going to scan inside that PDF, or it's not going to look inside of a Word document. It's just going to look at the link to the Word document or the link to the PDF. So it's not a silver bullet solution that's going to check every single thing that's on your page. It's only going to scan the stuff that you've created in the Canvas page. Another seemingly missing item inside of our new rich content editor is the HTML editor. Well, it's here. It just no longer says HTML editor. It's this little icon down here with the carrots. Click on it. There's our HTML editor. It functions almost identically to the way we had our HTML editor before, so I don't think you're going to have too many issues with it. They're getting better with the HTML editor. I really still wish that it would preserve all of our white space, but at the very least, it's doing a pretty good job of drawing the code. Okay. Oh, so here's a good question from chat. Do students get confetti after turning in an assignment? They should, and that's a user preference. And let me show you where you can go to do that. This is a new feature inside of Canvas. I don't think I can show you at the moment because I don't have an assignment in this particular Canvas course. However, let me save my page. It's a pretty neat function. If you want to see it in action, just do a simple Google search for Canvas confetti. And what will happen if you go into your global user settings, way at the bottom here, here we go, disable celebration animations, right? If this is this is the default, right? So what happens, this is such a cup holder thing, right? This is it's just a little bit of fun. When you submit an assignment in Canvas now, when you successfully submit your assignment, you hit the submit button and it uploads correctly, confetti will fall from the top of your screen. A little celebration moment, which is a whole lot of fun. If you don't want to see that, right? If a student doesn't want to see that, you can certainly turn it off if you like. So this is a user setting, not necessarily something that we as instructors, or certainly me as the Canvas administrator or the DE coordinator, I don't have too much control over. Okay, other questions? Yeah, no, I'm leaving mine on as well. It is just a little bit of fun, and you know, fun is good, and I'm gonna have every opportunity to have a little fun. Other questions about how to make our Canvas pages accessible? It takes a little bit of practice. If you have a huge library of Canvas pages, and you're overwhelmed by this process of making them all accessible, don't try to make them all accessible. Try to make them all accessible for one thing. You know, this semester, make it your goal to use headings on every single one of your pages. And then next semester, go through all of your pages again and format the links. Or just take it one module at a time. It does take a tremendous amount of work to remediate all of our learning resources to meet our state, our local, state, and federal accessibility guidelines. But it's really in our best interest as educators to provide an opportunity for everyone to have the exact same success in our class. So it's worth it, in my opinion. So, and the question was, how do we embed a studio video? Let me go back into a class here real fast, and I can show you real quick. All right. Here's my page. Let's edit the page. Now, if you're using the old content editor, it's going to be in a little bit of a different spot. In the new rich content editor, it's going to be right here in this little plug icon. And I'm going to find Canvas Studio. And voila, I can put it in, and there it is. There's me again inside the Canvas page, which is pretty cool. If you're using the old content editor, let me show you where that lives. Here we go. So let's turn off the new rich content editor. And once again, I'll return to that page. I'll edit it. And now what we're looking for is this arrow, this blue V. This is a pull-down menu. And inside the pull-down menu is, of course, access to our Canvas Studio library. Clicking on it, we're going to get the same interface that we just saw a second ago. You can just find a video, choose the embed button, and it's going to place that video wherever your cursor is currently residing. Okay, other questions? I want to be mindful of everyone's time. This workshop was only going to go till 4. I'd be more than happy to stay and answer as many questions that you have. Let me stop my screen share here for a second. Oh no, I lost my, there it is. Let me stop my screen share here. And if there are any questions, I'm definitely here to help.
Patrick, can you show how to put a link to a PDF?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. So if we go back over here into Canvas, let me share my screen. 1 second. We'll wrangle my technology here. Okay, so here I am back inside of Canvas. If we edit the page, the first thing that we want to do is we want to select the text that we want to be the link. So I'm just going to just grab the first couple words in this sentence. And in the old rich content editor, you do that over here inside of this files. This is the quick links over here. So if you have a PDF inside of your course, you can just find it in the files area and select it. And then whatever you had selected down here in the body copy of your page will turn into the link. Inside of the new rich content editor, you do all of that in the link button. All right. That help? Let me catch up with my chat here. I see people asking questions. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay.
I have one more question, Patrick. If you put a Google Docs, if you link to a Google Docs and your doc had links in it, will they automatically work when it goes into Canvas?
Absolutely, yeah, because when you link to a Google Doc, the moment the student clicks on that link to the Google Doc, they're going to be taken into the Google experience, right? So as long as the links that are in the Google Doc work inside the Google frame, it'll work.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. I have a question here from Blanca about some buttons and them lining up or are stuck together. Yes, making buttons and working with buttons is tough. When you get to that level of functionality inside of our Canvas pages, now we're truly entering into the web design world, and you have to know a little bit of CSS and a little bit of web code to space all the buttons out, to get them lined up correctly. They're definitely not easy, let's put it that way.
Can I add something?
Please do.
So so I've used the Canvas button because I think Greg had a video about how to do that, I think.
Okay.
So I just need to fix it because it's already there. My buttons are there. But I went back to the HTML editor and I did use the code, and I was watching because I learned a little bit about the codes, what they mean.
Okay, great.
But I know there's something that I'm missing because I did it in the summer, but now I did it outside. I created my own buttons with Google Doc, but this time I'm using Canvas because I wanted to try something different.
Send me an email with your Canvas code or your Canvas course code and the details.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Send me an email with the details, and I can go into your Canvas course and take a look-see.
Perfect, thank you.
Patrick, one more thing. How about the tables? How do we make it accessible?
Okay, let's see how. Now, how did you create the table? Inside.
Well, it says there that I need. Remember that boot camp that you guys did? I just copied your table, but then there was an assignment there that you need to make it accessible, and I have no idea what you guys are talking about there.
Yeah,
like the header of each.
Yeah, and those tables were for like Word docs. If you put a table in an Excel sheet or a Word doc, there's an additional accessibility thing that you need to go into to make sure that it's all done. Now, can you go into the edit? Let's just check out this table.
Okay.
Let's edit this thing, and we can look at this table's. Okay, can you go into the HTML editor? Oh, yeah.
Oh, too much.
Yeah, too much. I tell you what, send me the course code for this one. Send me a link to your course, and I can run in and look at it.
Yes.
On my screen, the text is turned into, and because of the compression of the video conference, the characters are turning into gobbledygook.
Gotcha.
So I can't see it, but I'll be more than happy to take a look at it and give you a hand.
Yes. So it's this one. It's CRC FA fall 20 M305. Oh, the lecture ID.
Yeah.
Oh, 15401.
Okay. Can you send it to me in an email?
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any other? Oh, I see. Yeah, this works too. Thank you. I didn't see that it was in chat. This works just fine. I'm going to cut and paste it on my side, and we'll go from there.
15401.
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to look at it at this very moment.
Oh yeah, don't worry.
In a meeting, but I'll definitely put it on my to-do list, and we'll keep experimenting with it.
Yeah, but technically, they should be able to read this module title.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you are 95% there.
Do I need to make these modules also accessible or no?
No, they're already accessible. These are great.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because those are just links to internal Canvas pages, so they're fine.
Okay. Okay.
All right. If there are not any more questions, I think we're going to end it there. As always, if you need something from me, please reach out. This is a crazy week for us. It's Flex, and everyone's online. So I'm getting 1,000 emails a second. Oops. I didn't mean to send that to just Blanca. I'm going to put my email address in the chat. That way everyone has it. If you don't have it already, you should be getting lots of emails from me, or have been getting a lot of emails from me. So please contact me offline if you have any questions, and I'm here to help. All right. Thank you, everybody. We will see you later.
Thank you.